I am Dr. Scott Magill, Executive Director of Veterans in Defense of Liberty. And welcome to Vets Talk, the veterans' take on our world today, fair, unbalanced, and courageously honest. Today, we are honored to present one of the most powerful patriotic pieces I have ever seen, written by Don Federer for our good friends at Grasstops USA. Don said, "Every year between Memorial Day and the 4th of July, I make a pilgrimage to a place where America began, the battlefield in Concord, Massachusetts. Today, it's a national park with beautiful green rolling hills, flower beds, a meandering river, and the Minuteman Monument. The colonists gave birth to a new nation, not on July 4, 1776, with the signing of the Declaration of Independence, but at the Old North Bridge in Concord on April 19, 1775. Words are fine and necessary, but nations, like individuals, are born in blood. The Battle of Concord was the first time the colonists fired on the British soldiers. The Redcoats on the other side of the bridge fired first a warning volley and then into the ranks of the militiamen on the other side. Isaac Davis, commanding a company from a nearby action, was shot in the heart and died on the spot. "Fire, fellow soldiers! For God's sake, fire!" cried Colonel John Buttrick, another militia leader. And fire they did. Their shots of defiance rang down through the ages. In Emerson's immortal words, "By the rude bridge that arched the flood, their flag to April's breeze unfurled, here once the embattled farmers stood and fired the shot heard round the world." Since I first heard the Concord hymn as a schoolboy, I've thrilled to those lines. Apparently, I am part of a dwindling majority. Younger Americans are less patriotic, the New York Times enthusiastically reported on July 4th, 2014. While 81% of the greatest generation said they love America, only 58% of the millennials feel the same way. The Times called it a generational gap on patriotism. In part, this lack of ardor is because many millennials are afraid to commit to anything. It might require them to actually do something: marriage, career, country. It's also the fault of a refusal to teach American history either in the public schools or higher education. In the National Assessment of Educational Progress, American history always ends up at the bottom of the heap. In a 2014 survey sponsored by the American Revolution Center, 83% failed a basic test on America's founding. More than 50% attributed Marx's axiom, "from each according to his ability, to each according to his need," to George Washington, Thomas Paine, or Barack Obama. Of course, Obama is easily mistaken for the communist theoretician. More than a third of those surveyed didn't know the century in which the American Revolution occurred. Half believed either the Emancipation Proclamation, the War of 1812, or the Civil War preceded the Revolution. A third of those surveyed did not know that the Bill of Rights guarantees a right to trial by jury. Over 50% thought our form of government is a democracy, a word found nowhere in the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution, instead of a republic. In another survey, 2/3 of Americans could not name a single Supreme Court justice. In a poll of high school juniors by the San Francisco Chronicle, only 8 out of 34 students correctly identified FDR as the president during World War II. Incorrect answers included George Washington, Teddy Roosevelt, Woodrow Wilson, Richard Nixon and Winston Churchill? In his first inaugural address, Abraham Lincoln appealed to the mystic chords of memory, stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every heart and hearthstone all over this broad land. But what happens when the cords of memory fray or snap? What happens is 8 years of Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, one of the most corrupt politicians in America, almost elected president. Washington forcing Americans to buy health insurance. A majority of Americans opposing Trump's border wall. 60% according to an April Pew Research poll. The Supreme Court ruling 2 men or 2 women have a constitutional right to marry. The fantasy that Islam somehow had something to do with the founding of America. Those who believe the Constitution mandates a wall of separation between church and state, 67% in one poll. And those who want to get guns off the street or off the village green. How can an American not take pride in his country, knowing that we started by defeating the greatest empire on earth, went on to adopt a constitution that provides the best system of government yet devised, kept the nation united and ended the scourge of slavery in the Civil War, recovered from the Depression and saved humanity from Japanese imperialism, Nazism, and communism, became the world's laboratory of invention in the 19th century and the powerhouse of production in the 20th. All the while creating a middle class in rights and prosperity. Only the pathetically ignorant or the soul dead could fail to love such a country. Breathes there a man with a soul so dead, who never to him once has said, "This is my own, my native land"? The Minutemen and the militia at the Old North Bridge had their counterparts in the Battle of New Orleans, the boys in blue who held Cemetery Ridge at Gettysburg, the doughboys of Belleau Woods, the boys of Pointe du Hoc, as Reagan called them on D-Day, and all the rest of the heroes at the Chosin Reservoir, the Tet Offensive, and Desert Storm. Tragically, we are raising a generation of historical illiterates. The zombies of horror movies consume human flesh. America's zombies are eating this nation's heart and consuming its spirit. This has been Vets Talk, the veterans' take on our world today, fair, unbalanced, and courageously honest.